Today we're diving into a legendary journey reborn, Dragonquest I HD Remaster, the brand new 2025 release that brings the original classic into the modern era with a fresh coat of paint and smarter design choices. But before we jump in, if you're new here, welcome to Lunar Arcade, your home for retro RPGs, HD remasters, and pixel classics. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a deep dive or a review, including my upcoming breakdown of Dragonquest II HD. To understand why this remake matters, we need just a tiny bit of history, and I promise, very brief. Dragonquest, known as Dragon Warrior in North America, originally released in 1986 Japan and 1989 North America. Designed by Yuji Horii, featuring character artwork by Akira Toriyama and music by Koichi Sugiyama. It helped create the blueprint for the modern JRPG. Turn-based combat, world exploration between towns and dungeons, leveling, progression, and steady power growth. It sold over 1.5 million copies in Japan and inspired everything from Final Fantasy to Pokemon. It's literally where the JRPG formula began. This new 2025 version stays faithful to the classic but refreshes the entire experience with modernized pixel art and fully updated animations, a reworked soundtrack that keeps the original spirit but feels richer and cleaner, improved pacing that smooths out some of the grind the NES original was known for, quality of life improvements across menus, movement, and combat. They also added new story details that flesh out the world and give the narrative more depth without changing the classic structure. This remaster doesn't just polish the original, it respects it, expands it slightly, and makes it easier to appreciate in 2025. And for those of you familiar with the HD remaster of 3, already know what to expect here. I spent my playthrough on the Steam Deck and PC, and performance was excellent across both systems, with only one major note. Steam Deck runs at a locked 60 FPS almost everywhere, but forest-heavy areas like the Fairy Forest can cause drops to around the low 50s, and that's every graphical setting set to max. Fortunately, the fix is pretty simple to lock it to 60 FPS. Disable the depth of field. Everything else can stay max and performance becomes perfect. I messed around with the other graphical settings, but none of them seem to make a difference like the depth of field does. Oddly enough, depth of field seems unusually heavy in this title, but turning it off solves everything. Another reason that I like playing on the Steam Deck and PC opposed to my Switch 2 is because of the mods. You can't utilize mods on the Switch 2 like you can with a Steam Deck because it's basically a portable PC running SteamOS. Technically it's possible to do, but you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get it to work, and on a Steam Deck and PC it just works from the get-go. All the mods I use for this game were downloaded from nexusmods.com, and installation is as easy as drag and drop into the game folder specified in the instructions. Here are the mods I use for my playthrough. Perfect Seeds. Seeds always give max stat values. No more save scumming or RNG suffering. Metal Courage. Monsters cannot run away, including metal slimes. Great for grinding. Skip logos. Loads straight to the main menu. Quick, simple, and efficient. And lastly, dynamic lighting. Makes caves and shadowed areas look more atmospheric and realistic. Torches now actually matter. There is a third-person battle mod, but I skipped the third-person mod because it's still unfinished and I just didn't want to run into any buggy mess. The gameplay remains classic Dragon Quest with meaningful modern enhancements. You still have first-person turn-based combat, traditional but snappy thanks to the new engine. However, the first game is different from others because you don't have a party. You're only playing as the hero in the first game. This amps up strategy since there's no healer or backup to save you. New late-game movesets, these are a big battle enhancement, but I won't spoil how they work for you. You're just gonna have to check it out for yourself, and it is pretty cool. Multi-enemy encounters are still a thing. Boomerang is great for crowd control. Bosses or single targets, you can swap to a stronger weapon mid-battle. It doesn't cost a turn. One of my favorite things, and I hope they include this in the rest of the remakes going forward, is the amazing spell and ability shortcuts menu. Hold the button and then cast it instantly based on whatever shortcut you set. It's super useful and it doesn't have you digging through menus to use some of your favorite spells or abilities. Dragon Quest I HD Remaster introduces a bunch of really handy features that make the game more accessible for newcomers or players who just want to focus on the story without the stress of figuring everything out on their own. Back in the original days, players had to write notes on paper, map out their own paths, and figure out everything through trial and error. While some players may still enjoy that classic approach, the HD Remaster gives you the option to make things easier or turn these features off if you want the old school challenge. One major feature is the objective marker. When it's turned on, the game will always show you where your current goal is directly out on the world map, which makes exploration less stressful stressful and keeps you moving forward without getting lost. Another neat feature is the ability to highlight secret hiding spots on the map. These are special areas that once you step into them, open up mini zones where you can unlock treasures, uncover clues for other hidden items, or even trigger small side events. It's a cool addition because it rewards exploration without leaving you frustrated trying to find them entirely on your own. There's one gameplay detail I really want to highlight because I think it's one of the coolest touches in this HD remaster, and something that wasn't featured in Dragon Quest III HD Remake. Whenever you use scrolls in this game, each one doesn't just teach you magic or abilities, they come with their own unique ancient text animation that appears above the hero before being absorbed into him. Every scroll has different colors, different glyphs or symbols, and different animation styles. It's subtle, but it adds this extra sense of mystery and world building, like you're tapping into lost knowledge or forgotten magic rather than just clicking a menu option. It's such a small detail, but it goes a long way in making the spell learning feel more meaningful and visually impactful, especially in a pixel art remaster like this. It caught my attention immediately, and it's one of those features that makes this HD version stand out from the earlier remake with 3. This game has world continuity with Dragon Quest III. The story is simple, classic, and iconic. It takes place after the events of Dragon Quest III, acting as a direct follow-up in the timeline. Peace has returned to the kingdom of Alefgard until the Dragon Lord steals the Sphere of Light, plunging the land back into darkness. You play as a descendant of the legendary hero Erdrick, setting out on a journey to restore light to the world, defeat the Dragon Lord, and prove yourself worthy of your lineage. It's the adventure that started the entire series. The map is the same world from Dragon Quest III, but in a later timeline. Some towns are ruined, some NPCs reference past events. It's awesome continuity, but you don't need to have played the third game first to understand this one because the references are very minimal, so nothing to worry about. There is no day and night cycle in this game like the third one had. This is faithful to the original pacing. There are new story additions, however. The HD remaster adds fleshed out scenes, character details, and world-building moments that weren't in the NES or SNES versions. It enhances the flow without changing the core narrative. The soundtrack remains classic Dragon Quest, bold, orchestral, timeless. I do wish, however, they added more new tracks, but what's here is beautifully remastered and faithful. A couple of things worth noting. If you collect all the ultimate weapons and armor, you'll unlock a cool visual detail fans will appreciate. Not a spoiler, but definitely something you want to see for yourself, so make sure not to get to the end of the game without doing that first. One thing that really stood out during this playthrough is how much shorter Dragon Quest I HD Remaster is compared to the other remastered entries we've gotten recently, and compared to most traditional JRPGs in general. That's not a flaw, it's just simply the nature of the original 1986 game. Even with the modern enhancements we mentioned earlier, the core structure is still based on that early era design. Simple goals, progression, and a world that doesn't waste your time. For me personally, I completed the entire playthrough, collected all the medals, secured all the ultimate gear, and explored every corner I could. All that in about 20 to 21 hours. And honestly, you can absolutely beat it faster than I did. I took my time, backtracking, revisiting towns, double-checking areas, and just enjoying the nostalgia and world building at a slow pace. Your final playtime will depend heavily on how you approach exploration, grinding, and side objectives. There might even be a few small things I missed before the ending, especially with the newly added story details and subtle world changes, so depending on how thoroughly you comb through the world, your experience may end up shorter, longer, or reveal surprises I didn't even catch. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and something I don't think gets enough attention, is just how refreshing it can be to revisit a classic RPG like this one every once in a while. A lot of players these days get burnt out on huge 80 to 100 hour modern RPGs, and you know the formula: good hero, big evil, world at risk, long cutscenes, tons of systems layered on top of each other. And while I love those games too, sometimes you just want something pure, tight, and honest about what it is. And that's where Dragon Quest really shines. This game is simple in the best way possible. A lone hero, a kingdom in danger, a quest that's straightforward but iconic, a world that's churning even in its simplicity. It's a classic for a reason. Even after all these years, I never got tired of that old school formula, and if I do get bored, I just step away and play something else for a bit. No pressure, no burnout. That's the beauty of replaying older RPGs. They don't demand your life, they just offer you an experience you can enjoy at your own pace. There's really nothing wrong with going back to the roots of the genre. In fact, I think it's something every RPG fan should do once in a while because it reminds you why these games became beloved in the first place. If there are any other aspects I might have missed or things you personally appreciate about the original Dragon Quest, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what moments or features stood out to you, especially if you played multiple versions across different generations. Dragon Quest I HD Remaster is the definitive way to experience this legendary RPG. The new visuals, smoother pacing, added story details, and quality of life upgrades make it stand strong even today. Voice acting does appear, just not everywhere. I would have loved full voice work, but what's included is great. I give Dragon Quest I HD a solid 9 out of 10, a fantastic remake of a foundational classic. If you enjoyed the review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another RPG breakdown, including my review of Trails of Cold Steel 3 coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. This is Lunar, signing off.